The heat was merciless that day, like the sun had a personal grudge against me. The air shimmered, and every breath burned my throat dry. I wiped the sweat from my forehead and turned to my daughter, Emily, sitting in the driver's seat with her sunglasses on. My heart was heavy, not because of the heat, but because I could already feel something wasn't right. "Are you sure this is the shortcut, sweetheart?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. Emily didn't look at me. Her husband, Ryan, smirked from the passenger seat. "Yeah, old man. Don't worry. We know where we're going." I smiled weakly, trying to trust them. After all, they were family, my only family left. My wife had passed away 2 years ago, and Emily had invited me to live with them in the city. I had sold my small countryside house and handed her the money, thinking she'd use it for a new home where we'd all live together. But ever since I moved in, things changed. I became an unwanted guest in my own daughter's home. The ride was silent except for the rumble of the tires over the cracked road. Miles of sand stretched endlessly around us. "Ryan, maybe we should head back. There's nothing out here," I said softly. He glanced at Emily, then pulled the car over. The engine died, and the silence that followed was deafening. "Out," Ryan said. I frowned. "What do you mean?" Emily finally turned to look at me, her eyes cold and distant. "Dad, we need some space. You've been living with us for months, and honestly, it's not working. You're too much." I felt my heart sink. "Emily, I don't understand. You told me to move in. You said we'd be a family again." She sighed, avoiding my gaze. "Things changed. Ryan's right. We can't take care of you. You'll figure something out. You always do." Ryan opened my door and motioned for me to get out. I hesitated, hoping this was just a cruel joke. But when Emily looked away, I knew it wasn't. "Please, don't do this," I whispered. Ryan tossed my small bag onto the sand. "Good luck getting home, old man." The car engine roared to life, kicking up a storm of dust. I stumbled back, coughing, as the vehicle sped away, leaving me standing alone in the vast, empty desert. The first few hours were torture. The sun blistered my skin, and my throat begged for water. My old knees shook with every step. I looked in every direction, nothing but dunes and endless emptiness. I sat down, clutching the small locket around my neck, the one my late wife, Mary, had given me. Inside was her photo, smiling gently. "Looks like it's just you and me again, Mary," I murmured, my voice breaking. "Guess I should have listened when you told me not to give everything away." A tear rolled down my cheek, drying before it reached my chin. As night fell, the desert turned cold and hauntingly quiet. I wrapped myself in my thin jacket, shivering. The stars above sparkled like they were mocking me. But somewhere deep inside, a spark of anger began to grow. They left me to die. My own daughter. Number. I wouldn't give them that satisfaction. The next morning, I woke up weak but alive. My lips were cracked, and I could barely stand, but I kept moving. Hours passed, maybe days. I lost track. Then, in the distance, I saw a faint blur. A truck. I waved desperately, stumbling toward it. The driver, a middle-aged man named Carlos, stopped immediately when he saw me collapse. "Sir, are you all right?" he shouted, rushing over. I could barely speak. "Water, please." He lifted me into his truck and gave me water, bread, and shade. As I recovered, I told him everything, how my daughter and her husband had left me. His face darkened with anger. "That's evil," Carlos muttered. "But you're safe now. I'll take you to the nearest town." 2 days later, I was sitting in a police station, recounting my story to an officer. They were shocked and furious. With Carlos's help and GPS data from the desert, they tracked down Emily and Ryan's vehicle. When they were brought in, Emily's face went pale the moment she saw me sitting there, alive. "Dad, I thought," she stammered. I interrupted her softly. "You thought I'd die out there, didn't you?" Tears welled in her eyes, but I saw guilt, not love. Ryan tried to defend himself, saying it was just a bad decision. But the police weren't convinced. They faced serious charges for abandonment and attempted murder. As they were led away, Emily turned to me one last time. "I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't mean for it to go this far." I looked at her, my heart aching. "You didn't mean it?" "Emily, you left your own father in the desert. You meant every second of it." Months later, I found myself back in the countryside, living in a small rented cottage. I had nothing but peace, and that was enough. Carlos and his family often visited me, bringing meals and company. They became the family I'd lost. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, I sat on my porch with a cup of tea. The desert wind still whispered in my memory, but it no longer scared me. Because I'd survived the worst kind of storm, a storm called betrayal. I smiled faintly, looking at Mary's picture again. "You were right, love. Family isn't about blood. It's about heart." As the stars appeared, I closed my eyes and whispered a quiet prayer, not for revenge, but for forgiveness. Because even though my daughter left me to die, I refused to let hate kill what was left of me. And somewhere deep inside, I knew she would live with that guilt forever. Moral: sometimes life tests us in the cruelest ways. But even when we're left alone in the middle of nowhere, kindness and faith can still find us. Because no matter how dark the desert is, dawn always comes.